So good afternoon and welcome to this policy dialogue on Nord Stream 2 and Turk Stream 2. What should the European Union do? This is organized by the European Policy Center with the kind support of the Ukrainian Federation of Employers in the oil and gas industry. Over the last 5 years, Russia was busy realizing new gas routes to serve Europe bypassing Ukraine. According to the promoters of the pipeline, these are commercial projects helping Europe meeting its energy needs. However, this view is contested by critics, believing that Nord Stream 2 and Turk Stream are indeed projects serving the Kremlin's geopolitical ambitions and reinforcing Russia's grip on the EU gas markets, therefore contradicting the Energy Union's objectives. The controversy also developed a transatlantic angle as the United States declared their dissatisfaction with Russia strengthening its energy grip on Europe to the point of threatening direct sanctions. It is now time to rediscuss all this in light of the evolution of some important contextual conditions. Among these, the completion of the Nord Stream 2 project, the change in the US administrations, the elections in Germany, and the EU's increasingly stringent emission reduction targets. And more recently, also a gas supply crunch that is affecting European customers. What all this mean for the future of EU-Russia energy relations? To discuss this, we have today a panel of experts and policymakers that will help us navigating these complexities. So, with no further ado, I am glad to introduce Dr. Agnia Grigas first, non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council, a DC-based think tank, and author of several academic books on the politics of gas in Europe. Agnia, now that Nord Stream 2 is completed, to what extent the likely reconfiguration of gas flows will affect the geopolitical context in the region and beyond? And in your views, what are the risks now and how should they be addressed by the countries involved?
So, certainly Nord Stream 2 is a geopolitical project from the Kremlin, and it will certainly have significant geopolitical implications. I mean, I outlined that extensively in my newest book, The New Geopolitics of Natural Gas. Currently in Europe, there's more of a focus on the new Green Deal, but in reality, you cannot wish energy security away. You cannot wish geopolitics away. And what Nord Stream 2 does, what Turk Stream does, is they essentially undermine Europe's energy security strategy. I mean, this was the European Union's own energy security strategy that outlined that the European Union must diversify its energy sources, routes, and suppliers. Nord Stream 2 runs counter to all of these priorities that the European Union set out for itself. Another element, it helps Russia gain political influence within the European Union over countries like Germany, over other importing countries, and it allows Russia to continue exporting corruption into Europe. And I think we can clearly say that from seeing how this project was implemented. Also, given the current war in Ukraine, the fact that Russia has been involved in the assassination of dissidents, the poisoning of an opposition leader, all of this, runs, really it's paradoxical that Europe at this current time would implement a project such as Nord Stream 2 that seems to run counter to a lot of its foreign policy. I mean, if you also consider Europe's even security of gas imports, the concentration of gas imports along a single route through Nord Stream 2 increases risk to Europe's supplies. It increases the potential threat of cyber risks, of consistency of supply, even pipeline operations. So all in all, as I started, I don't think Europe can wish away energy security. I don't think they can wish away geopolitics. And this project remains, a great concern from both of these regards.
Thank you, Agnia. I have just a side question. Since you might be also quite familiar with the processes in the US about it. We had probably a slightly softer approach of the current administration on Nord Stream 2 if compared to what we have seen during the previous administration. Yet another relevant actor in all this is the US Congress. I would like to better understand from you also following the meeting between Biden and Merkel and the decisions taking in occasion of the meeting. There are still risks coming from the US with respect to the completion of this pipeline and what form they could take at this point.
So the Nord Stream 2 project had, it was one of the very few issues in Washington that had, a bipartisan common view. Both the Republicans and the Democrats were opposed to this project, and therefore you saw, the sanctions, the threat of sanctions, and a lot of actions the U.S. administration and Congress took under the administration of President Trump. At the same time, with the Biden's administration coming in and the project being essentially, if not completed, near completed, I think there was a mood of trying to improve relations with Germany, which were perceived to be badly hurt under the Trump administration. And I think, again, perception that there was not much that the US could still do to prevent this project from coming online. So it was a element of trying to save relations with one of America's strongest allies and partners in Europe, Germany.
Thank you very much. I think we have here a bridge to our next speaker, Sergey Lagodinsky. He's a German member of the European Parliament for the Greens. The Greens are probably the only German party that has consistently opposed the pipeline, and even during the electoral campaign has kept this position. In light of yesterday's results, what these elections and the possible coalitions that could emerge tell us about the future conduct of Germany's policy vis-a-vis Russia and its energy. And I'd also be curious to understand whether the specific issue of Nord Stream 2 is going to play a prominent role in the talks for forming a government coalition.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's great to be here and to address this very important issue. As you rightly said, we're one of the parties who was always very clear on that for both geostrategic, but also for environmental reasons and climate protection reasons. The consequences of yesterday's decision, I mean, we were not and we are not surprised about the consequences and about those outcomes. It is pretty much, and it was pretty much clear from the very beginning, this will be a threefold coalition. The coalition with the left party is not very realistic, and so the decision would be either a three-party coalition in both cases, including the Greens and the Liberals. So the market-oriented Liberal Party, which is number 3, it's lower than the results are lower than the Greens. And then the question is who's going to lead both coalitions, either Social Democrats or Christian Democrats. And there is a fallback option also, the continuation of the Grand Coalition if the three-party combination would fail. Then, of course, both larger parties, the Social Democrats and Conservatives, could join and kind of relaunch the coalition that they are having now under the auspices and under the leadership of the Social Democrats. So this will be a change on the top. In any case, the interesting part of this regarding the issue that we're discussing is, of course, the role of the Greens, but also of Liberal Democrats. Liberal Democrats generally also quite critical on the position of the Russian government. So they are good allies regarding the situation in Russia. There was also early this year a proposal when we had oppressive steps by the Russian government against protesters, proposal by Graf Lambsdorff, someone who could be, you know, one of the foreign policy leaders, depending on where the foreign ministry is going to go, where he asked for a moratorium on Nord Stream 2 until the situation in Russia improves. So it's kind of a probably very long-term moratorium, realistically. The risk there is that because that party is very business oriented and business friendly. When I talk to some representatives of this party, they're, for example, against sanctions on businesses, and they are very a bit soft on vested business interests in that. So I think that this issue will play a role. And I think that this issue will play a role in negotiations. We don't know yet. We still don't have even, you know, kind of the clear groups who is going to negotiate what and with whom. And I think it will be kind of part of the package generally of our relationship vis-a-vis our Eastern, whatever you want to call it, partner, neighbor, Russian Federation. I'm not sure how much under the circumstances where this pipeline has already been completed or de facto completed, how much room for maneuver the other parties are going to leave us, because what I'm facing again and again is this argument, well, it's already done. Why should you stop something that's already basically functioning? And it's increasingly difficult to explain why this project should be stopped. So there will be tough negotiations, but we maybe need also to look for creative solutions of what kind of fallback options there could be that would make especially Ukrainian interests secure. I do not think that the deal between the Biden administration and Merkel administration was of any good. I think it was an imperial kind of way of dealing with things over the heads of those who are affected by the deals. I don't see any binding force of that either. My position on that is that Germany can gladly invest more money into green transition in Ukraine. I would only support this project, but Germany doesn't owe anyone to continue with Nord Stream 2 based on that agreement, which is not even binding. And because this was an agreement between parties who are not involved in any of the relationship in Nord Stream 2. So that's my point, and I think we should be negotiating without regard to that agreement. As I said, the positive things and the assets of that agreement vis-a-vis Ukraine can be gladly kept and developed, but I don't see any obligation vis-a-vis German government which arise from that agreement. Quite to the contrary, I think that the situation with gas supply now, we can discuss about the reasons, but for me, especially the statement of Putin during one of the press conferences, where he said very clearly that the continuation and renewal of contracts with Ukraine will be dependent on increase in gas demand in Europe. This is precisely the situation that we didn't want to have. right? I mean, this is a kind of an issue of trying to put more pressure on Europe to consume more gas and to buy more, and then only then we will have a continuation of relationship and a role for Ukraine. This is precisely the wrong way of doing it, and it contradicts and kind of confirms our fears, because the narrative so far was we need additional capacities because we need additional gas. Now we have a situation where Russia will dictate us how much additional gas we need if we want to use the capacities that we already had. So it all doesn't make sense in terms of economy, and that shows once again that this paradigm that was reiterated by this current government, that this is not a political project, that this is a purely business project. Well, now we see that maybe from the German side, it was a business project, but there are no purely business projects for the other side. Any business is politics in Russia, and any politics is business. So we would need to reevaluate the situation during the coalition negotiations, and we will see how the situation is going to develop. I would have said, and I will end with that, a couple of months ago, I would have predicted that the position of Christian Democrats is more robust on that front rather than Social Democrats, because I perceive Social Democrats to be kind of with of course the very dubious role of Schröder, the former chancellor, to be kind of the how do you call them, the godfathers of the project, so to speak, politically. But with Mr. Laschet being the main candidate and the leader so far, even in a coalition where he would be the leader, with his statements that are very also business-oriented, status quo-oriented, and open towards Kremlin. I mean, I don't want to exaggerate, he's critical, but it was a little bit more open, there was more openness there than what I had assumed a Christian Democrat line would be. I'm not sure that this would make a difference whether Christian Democrats or Social Democrats are going to be the leaders in this coalition. So we need to prepare for tough negotiations on that and many other issues.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I will now invite the intervention of Sergey Makogon, Chief Executive of the gas transmission system of Ukraine. And how do you see the overall energy security context in Europe and Ukraine in light of the completion of Nord Stream 2? And also, as it was mentioned, Europe is now hit by a gas supply crunch that is sending prices through the roof. There is apparently a combination of causes for this, but what role, if any, in your views, Russian gas played in this market juncture? Thanks.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I prepared some slides for today's presentation. But before I start, I would like to say that for me, it's very kind of strange to hear this argument that the project is almost built or it is already built. Why not to use it? Because actually nobody asked Gazprom to build this new pipeline, and completely a lot of countries were completely against this new pipeline from the very beginning. Yes, and Poland, Baltic countries, and a lot of other European countries. And so for me, it's not very good argument. I think it's more like the blackmail and standard Russian approach, like divide and conquer. Yes, so they just divide Europe by this geopolitical pipeline, and definitely this pipeline is good for German business, because first of all, they have not spent any euro on building this pipeline, so it's just Gazprom build it for all money. Then they will become the gas hub in Europe, so the gap in Germany will be the gas in Germany will be the cheapest on the continent because it's an entry point. So Germany will be able to increase its power in European Union, and actually German economy will be more competitive to other European economies because actually they will have cheaper resource on gas. And also they will take part of the revenues, transit revenues that currently Ukraine and Slovakia are receiving, because actually you should understand that more than half or maybe 80% of this gas which could come to Germany through Nord Stream 2, it will go as a transit to those countries which are receiving gas right now through Ukraine. So actually it means that it will be the same gas to the same consumers, but through the different route. So definitely, for me, it's quite a strange message. So I will start my presentation, but could you please, next slide, please? Okay. So to make sense what is happening in Europe today, let's consider some basic arithmetics. So in pre-pandemic year 2019, the total capacity of East-West transit system exceeded the actual volume of gas shipped through it by a quarter. But in 2020, the excess capacity was already almost 40%. And given the climate goals, no one, even Russia, expect gas exports to grow about 200 billion cubic meters. So just think about it. Nearly half of the gas pipelines are sitting empty, while the billions are wasted on another one to connect Russia and Germany that will bring the same gas from the same sources to the same customers. On this image, you can see encirclement of Ukraine and all Eastern Europe. The pipeline we are discussing today have nothing to do with European needs and everything to do with Russian geopolitics. Nord Stream 2 is not operational, but Gazprom tightening grip can already be felt across Europe, and we can see this huge crisis on gas. Next slide, please. And what we are witnessing in Europe is the present rerun of oil shock in United States has experienced in the 70s. Between March and July this year, European gas futures have doubled in price, and then they doubled again in half the time from July to September. The commodity is different, the safeguards are stronger, but the underlying dynamics are the same. It was not the lack of oil tankers in the past that pushed the prices up and triggered the economic recession in America. Those were political motivated decisions by the dominant oil producers to withhold supplies. The same is today. As a gas transmission system operator and a reliable partner for Europe, we have offered transit capacities at every auction, but Russia failed to book them. Next slide, please. On September 15th, Gazprom announced that its gas production has increased by 19% this year. So where did it go? Clearly not to the European Union. Gazprom is taking gas from its storage facilities located in Germany, Austria, and elsewhere in Europe to deliver on its contracts. The gas reserves for the upcoming winter are low across the continent, and the facilities owned by Gazprom is getting to single digits. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. We have signed a 5-year contract with Gazprom to transit pre-agreed volumes of gas, and on top of that, we are constantly offering the additional capacities and monthly auctions. As you can see, the market response to Gazprom's decision not to ship through Ukraine has been very clear. Every time Ukraine capacities were booked, the prices went down, and the prices went up every time they went. The last auction happened just a few days ago. Gazprom didn't take our offer, and what we see is the highest price jump yet. This kind of market signaling proves to be the effective tool for the Kremlin. What Gazprom is communicating is that it will not ship gas to Europe through Ukraine, and that pushes prices up. But that is not all. Gazprom is raising the stakes even more by depleting its storage facilities during the off season. Next slide, please. If anyone was still wondering about the origins of European gas crunch, a Kremlin spokesman just told us. If it is not the effort to blackmail Europe, I'm not sure what is. Next slide, please. So dominance is not a crime, but the abuse of dominance to impact prices or achieve other geopolitical objectives is something Germany and Europe must respond to. We all know that Nord Stream 2 is all about, but it is still worth repeating what it is not. It is not a new source of gas. It will not bring new gas to Europe. Its only purpose to weaken the Ukrainian security, to create divisions within the European Union, and to undermine the transatlantic alliance. Continuity of gas transit is our strongest non-military buffer to further Russian aggression, and even if gas continues to follow through Ukraine, Nord Stream 2 will render our transit route dispensable and leave our country much more vulnerable. Next slide, please. The German-American declaration has made it very clear that transatlantic community will not allow Russia to weaponize energy against Ukraine and Europe. With that in mind, we have identified 3 red flags to watch for. First one, there should be no exemption from the third energy package for Nord Stream 2. Any effort to subvert the certification process will be a clear signal of energy weaponization. Europe's strengths come from the rule of law. The EU will be the best protected if the gas market regulations are applied fully to all routes, including Nord Stream 1 and Turk Stream 2. Those routes apply to Ukraine, and that's what makes our transit corridor more reliable. The third energy package is European defense shield against price manipulation and abuse of dominance. Now it's time to use it. Secondly, everyone in Europe, including Angela Merkel, agrees that the transit through Ukraine must continue. But now that Turk Stream has come online, a significant part of gas flows has already been diverted. If another alternative route is available, Gazprom will be free to weaponize supply volatility against Ukraine, shipping minimum volumes one day and maximum the next, making it difficult or not possible for us to operate our infrastructure. Our ship or pay agreement will become a major risk. For the sake of Ukraine and for the sake of regional stability, we have to focus on actual flows of gas through our route. Given the new market condition, Europe and Ukraine must demand the guarantees of ship and pay, not ship or pay, but ship and pay standards. The third flag I want to cover is quite technical, but no less dangerous. The gas market works well when it is driven by economic interests. Traders won't book transit capacity unless they intend to use them. But if one of the market players is pursuing the geopolitical goals, it's possible to create bottlenecks, limit market access, and isolate a country from supply sources. Lastly, we have to watch out for mysterious, let's call it mysterious accidents that we know have happened in the past. Within the current context, any such event will have a dramatic impact on the prices and could trigger calls for emergency measures. Next slide, please. The weaponization of Nord Stream 2 is not a hypothetical scenario. It is not a possible one-time event in the future. It is an ongoing process that began on the day of pipeline activity commenced. The weaponization of ambiguity is what we are witnessing. The situation is getting politically worse, but no one can put it into a single dramatic event that should trigger a decisive response. The majority of EU members reject Nord Stream 2, but that is not stopping the pressure campaign by Moscow to get it over the finish line no matter what. Allowing the completion of this project was always the terrible idea, but doing so under the pressure is demonstration of weakness that Germany and Europe will eventually regret. So this is it from my side. I think that we can continue our discussion based on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And I have on this side questions still on regulatory issues. Something that is still not entirely clear in what type of operating regime Gazprom would be going to adopt with Nord Stream 2 after the amendment of the gas directive by the EU. What type of scheme do you think that Gazprom is going to adopt with in order to comply with EU regulations?
I don't know what would be the vision of Gazprom or approach of Gazprom, but I think that Europe should insist on full compliance with the third energy package, which means the ownership unbundling. So they must sell Nord Stream 2 AG. Second one is the free third-party access to pipeline, and the third one is the fully transparent tariff setting for the pipeline. All these 3 points will ensure that the route will be fully transparent, and the shippers will be able to use it, not just the Gazprom, but any other shipper. And we believe also that the other routes should be open for other suppliers, such as Ukrainian route and potentially Polish route.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for this, to the three of you, for this comprehensive introductory remarks. I think we have now some time for the Q&A with the audience. So I would encourage participants to raise their hands and pose their question, or otherwise posing question through the Q&A chat that you see on your screen. My only request is when you type questions is to make short and direct questions, indicating who is the speaker you are addressing, so that both myself and the speakers can turn this into discussion, actually. Not seeing anyone raising hands, so I do have a question. Myself.
Questions in the question chat.
Sorry. Yes. Okay. Yes. Understand the speaker is asking to Mr. Lagodinsky, I think, whether the EU has actually sort of changed the rules of the game. I would expect we are discussing here about regulation or possibly preference for short-term contracts and spot markets, if I am not mistaken. But if I'm wrong, I would encourage the person who typed the question to actually join the discussion and pose the question directly to the speaker. So basically the question is whether if the EU has really changed the rules of the game, shouldn't we expect some annoyance from the Russian side? I guess this is for for Mr. Lagodinsky. So please.
To be honest, I'm not quite sure what is meant by Tony Jordan, who wrote this question, because there is no such thing as EU as a player in this game. There is or at least it's not the main player. The main player is Germany. Germany is not the EU. The German role here has been actually contrary to our positions, for example, of the Parliament. The Parliament, European Parliament, has repeatedly stated in the resolutions that Nord Stream 2 should be halted. And I'm not even starting to quote many other member states of the European Union who consider this project to be a betrayal on principles of solidarity of the European Union. So I'm not sure how whether we are not here confusing different players. I do think that we have missed, and Germany also, and the German government has missed opportunity to find real ways of securing interests of Ukraine, for example, in this situation. There is this idea of basically, having kind of like as a how to call them, the water, the switcher, basically having a switch, and in case Russia ever, or the Russian government ever uses the new pipeline to, against the interests of Ukraine, then we would turn the pipeline off. And I think this is totally ridiculous and totally naive, because nobody's gonna, and in reality, nobody's gonna turn off anything if your citizens are gonna be during the cold winter, and the reserves have been depleted, like we're seeing it now. So I don't think there will be, and there will be found some excuses why we don't do this. The same if we'll read the agreement between Americans and Germans on this, the sanctions issues on Nord Stream 2, Germany is threatening some kinds of measures, some miraculous and non-identified measures that it will enact in case Russia is going to use this geopolitically against the interests of Ukraine. I mean, those measures, we don't even know and don't have them in many other cases. I mean, what kind of measures that were effective did we use in case of Crimea occupation? There were some sanctions, yes, but did they work? Not sure. So I would have thought, and I would have hoped, that the German government would have used this better as on the one hand, use Nord Stream 2 more as a leverage, rather than having this idea that we're all over dependent on it and we should just complete it. And on the other hand, also give tangible, clear guarantees that this project shouldn't be abused, if we are not talking about stopping the project, as most Europeans and our party actually calls for. So basically, I agree with Tony. Yes, they should have used and looked for alternatives. But I'm not sure it's about Europe. It's Germany that should have done more.
If I may, I would like to add a couple of messages. First of all, there are several myths that Gazprom trying to push in Europe, especially in Germany. That, for example, that if Nord Stream 2 is not operational, something terrible will happen in Europe. But our message is, come on, guys, what is problem right now? Right now, we don't have, let's say not right now, but 2 years ago. It was no Nord Stream 2. And everybody had necessary volumes of gas. The gas flow was enough to satisfy the need of suppliers, and the gas price was acceptable for the final consumers. So Nord Stream 2 is not adding any value. So if Gazprom would be interested to increase supplies right now, so we in Ukraine have double capacities of Nord Stream 2 available immediately right now. Yes, so if they will send us the request today for additional volumes of gas, like 100 million additional, 200 million additional per day, tomorrow the gas will start flowing to Europe. So Nord Stream 2 is not solving any problem. So right now we have enough capacities to deliver the gas in necessary volumes to Europe, including Germany. This is the first point. The second one, another myth is that, okay, let's allow Nord Stream 2, but Ukraine will be used as a backup scenario. And what we are saying that it's very costly to maintain our system, not because it's old or something like that. It's only because it's so huge. The capacity of our system is 146 billion cubic meters per year. It's almost triple Nord Stream 2. We spent about $1 billion per year just to maintain our system. We have 11,000 employees, numerous compressor stations, 33,000 kilometers of pipeline. So it's huge infrastructure. And we will not be able to maintain our system without significant long-term commitment, long-term contract for the transit. So we will have just to optimize our system. What does it mean? So we will just decrease the transit capacity of our system to the volumes needed for our internal consumption, which is about 30 billion cubic meters. So it means that after optimization, it will be no backup solution in Europe. So Europe will fully depend on Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2, Turk Stream 1, Turk Stream 2. So it will be, Ukraine will be just operating for internal needs because unfortunately, our local population is not able to pay for this huge capacity for European consumers. So if Europe needs our backup solution, we need a long-term contract which will cover our operational costs. So it's two myths that Gazprom is distribution in Europe. Thank you very much. This is it from my side.
Yes, please, Agnia.
And, I would follow up with another myth that, over the last 5 or more years, Gazprom has been pushing that there will be a growth of demand in Europe for gas. Really, other economists, gas analysts, they always point that the gas demand in Europe has essentially flattened out if it's not decreasing. So there's no demand for this extra gas. Again, as Sergey said, this is really just a replacement of one pipeline route with another pipeline route. Also, if you consider the alternatives today, I mean, there's the growth of LNG trade has exploded again in the last 10 years, enabling Europe to have that flexibility. If, let's say, there were seasonal, peaks in demand, which, now so many European countries have the LNG import terminals, which could be met through LNG. And I would also like to follow up with, this statement that we've heard, that one of the primary arguments is that, well, if the pipeline is already built, then, I guess we should use it. The European Union, the European Commission in the past has actually requested country states to close down existing energy infrastructure. And I'm specifically speaking about, for example, the Chernobyl-style nuclear power plants in Europe. So when countries like Lithuania joined the EU, they had to close existing infrastructure, which was deemed unsafe. So, this argument now, just because it's there, it doesn't mean that, this is something that should be used regarding Nord Stream 2. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a side question related to this to the last remarks we heard. We would need long-term contractual commitments for transit through Ukraine. We heard about diversification. Indeed, there are quite a lot of resources that have been discovered around Europe, from the Black Sea, Romania, Turkey, the Eastern Mediterranean, and so on. My question is whether, like in the past, the standard answers to this problem is, okay, let's do diversification, let's add more infrastructure, and so on. Do you see, and I'm asking to all the speakers, because perhaps there are different sensitivities about about that. Do you see that the current climate agenda, the European Green Deal, the growing centrality that long-term emission reduction targets have in EU policymaking, do they create some possible contradiction with the EU's energy security interest, or rather do you see them as like a synergetic? I'm asking this to all the three speakers.
And I can start out. Long term, I do view it as a synergy. It's another source of diversification for Europe, and that has been the plan. I mean, diversification of sources, routes, and suppliers. So part of that can be, LNG, the Southern Gas Corridor, also Europe's own potential, gas development, and of course, renewable energy. So long term, it can be synergetic, but I think what we've seen with Nord Stream 2, in fact, I always saw this type of project as, as Gazprom is seeing that the demand for its gas is falling in Europe, as it's seeing that there are new alternatives in terms of new competition, in terms of from LNG, from other countries, American LNG, and that there is a breakthrough in renewable resources, that Nord Stream 2 has been an effort to essentially lock in Europe on its kind of gas supply chain, while in the future that demand will be reduced if continuously reduced.
Thanks.
I would like to add that I think that the current situation on the gas market would have impact on this green agenda because they see that Europe will see that they might pay too high price for this green transition, and maybe they will understand maybe they need to change a little bit the approach or the terms or the speed of this transformation, because and actually Alan Riley yesterday, I think it was him who said that Europe should develop the plan for use the gas as a transit fuel, but considering like reliable gas and non-reliable gas. Yeah, so and I really like this idea of non-reliable gas because they cannot build their green strategy on the gas suppliers when they cannot rely on it. So I think that maybe not good for Kremlin as well. So the reaction of European Union could be a little bit different. They can change their approach and change their view on this green transition. Thank you.
Thanks. And would Sergey Lagodinsky would have to add something to this?
I mean, our position on the various types of fuels is very clear. We need to make a transition to renewables, and any investment which has to first generate enough revenues to get it back is already a wrong move. I mean, investing so much money into a project that from a business perspective will force us to get and to use gas as long as possible to get the money back and the investment back, returns on investment. It's just, it just doesn't make sense if we want to green Europe. And therefore, with all due respect with those who have a business interest here on selling gas, I don't think this is the right way to go. And as Agnia rightly mentioned, there are plenty of researchers and analysts who say we don't need more gas. There will be no need for increase in gas. And there I again refer to what Mr. Putin said. And he basically revealed his plan. He said he will put pressure on us, and will basically it will be kind of the game of pressuring us into buying more gas if we want Ukraine and contracts with Ukraine into 2024 be renewed. This is, of course, really kind of an immoral way of, unmoral way of doing politics. We need to invest into renewables, and actually the gas. Actually, just a couple of months ago, when I said this, people said, "Yeah, but our gas reserves are full." So we still can, you know, even if crisis comes, we will be safe. Now we see that this also doesn't work. So this is not just a geopolitical question and issue. This is also an issue of green transition of our continent. And by the way, on that we should reduce our dependence on non-renewables as much as we can.
Thank you. I have three questions in line, some written and some raised their hands. So okay, just let me first pose the written one, then I will let in the participants. So one is on Turk stream. Rostislav Khotin asks why the whole attention is focusing so much on Nord Stream and apparently not enough on Turk stream. Perhaps if I can slightly refine the question, and this is probably more for Agnia, Grigas. We have seen quite a lot of pressure, especially from other partners and from the United States on Germany over these issues, but probably a bit of less pressure on Turkey on the same topic. And I would be interested to know why in your views this is the case. This was the case if it was. Then I have a second question from Isabel Ioannidis. I think that the first one was already addressed by the presentation of Sergey Lagodinsky, so we are not going to repeat that. But the second one is about the resources in the Eastern Mediterranean. And the question for the speakers is whether in the current environment there are better chances for these resources, I guess, to reach European shores. Then I have other two questions. No, one question from a participant. So I would be happy to let him in. Mr. Martin Russell, you have the floor. Hello. Can you hear us? I think your microphone is disabled. Sorry, not hearing anything. So perhaps the speakers want to react to the questions I had mentioned before.
Sure, I can get started with Turk Stream 2, and you know, really everything we've said about Nord Stream, we can say about Turk Stream. Really, they're the same. You know, they're the two sides of the same coin. A helpful way to think about it is if you look at what are the two biggest European gas markets for Russia. So the first is, you know, Germany, and Nord Stream 2 is an effort really to eliminate the Ukrainian gas transit system from gas transit and rather send gas directly to Germany. And Turk Stream is essentially, you know, looking at Turkey, the second largest European gas market for Russia. It's, again, an effort to eliminate other transit countries and have a direct route to Turkey. Also, an effort to diminish the significance of the Southern Gas Corridor. Now, this is the Southern Gas Corridor. This has been a project and an aim of the European Union and the United States, I mean, probably since the 90s, initially was envisioned as the Nabucco pipeline. Then it was finally completed as the Southern Gas Corridor, which brings alternative gas, non-Russian gas from Central Asia into Europe. So again, it's a similar type of effort, and you can also think of it as a pincher. I mean, these two pipelines are pinching Europe and cutting off other gas suppliers. Same side of, two different sides of the same coin, essentially.
Just briefly on my side, if I may, I do agree that this is a similar issue, and it's even more similar because, of course, it bypasses Ukraine as well, going from Anapa to Turkey, and it also has the continuation that goes to the European Union. I mean, the difference is that the most important part, the actual Turk stream, is not covered by European law. So all the principles that Sergey also mentioned does not cover the route until Turkey, but there is this continuation, which is the south, which goes to Southeast Europe, to Bulgaria, and Hungary, where you could make a claim that this is basically kind of an integrative part of the Turk stream, and therefore those principles should apply as well. So I do think that we need to work also on more diversification of energy sources, especially to Bulgaria. We had the classical crisis where Bulgaria was 100% dependent on Russian gas. Now we're down to 75% as far as I know, so there is an improvement there, but still, I mean, this project is just as precarious, let's put it mildly, as the other one. It's just not on the radar. Probably because the player is not a member of the European Parliament, of the European Union, and therefore the kind of the breach of solidarity is perceived maybe not as flagrant as we see it in the case of Germany. So I think this is kind of the perception issue that we're seeing. And the other question that was there, the second question is
the Eastern Mediterranean.
The Eastern Med. I mean, if we remain with the thesis and hypothesis that the gas is a kind of a phasing out technology, and we don't need more capacities, then there is no business case for the gas from Eastern Mediterranean to begin with, and this is the tragedy of that of the security crisis and geostrategic crisis that we're facing. That Turkey and Greece, or whatever, Cyprus, Israel, that they are all fighting for resources of the 19th century. Instead of investing into the resources of the 21st century. That's why, by the way, I'm a proponent of us exploring and trying to expand the Green Deal program of the European Union to Turkey, to assist the Turkish government and the Turkish society to face the future rather than to fight about the resources of the past that don't present a business case. But maybe Sergey can correct me if he sees it a little bit differently.
Thank you very much. I would like to say that the Turk stream is actually a vivid example what will happen after the full commencement of Nord Stream 2. So we, I mean, as Ukraine, we already lost the transit to all Southern Europe. So Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Turkey, it's about 15 billion cubic meters per year. The Trans-Balkan pipeline is stayed fully idle for almost 2 years already. It was just yesterday announced that the Hungary also will switch to receiving gas from Turk Stream 2. just starting from the 1st of October this year. So additionally, Ukraine will lose about 10 billion cubic meters of transit to Hungary. And for me, it's very difficult to believe that the route through Russia, Black Sea, Turkey, Bulgaria, Serbia, and Hungary, it's cheaper than the direct route from just Russia through Ukraine to Hungary. So we see that there is just a price manipulation. The Gazprom is hiding the transportation price into the commodity price and making this making such offers for the countries they cannot actually, they don't have a right to choose. Now the Hungary will be just a very length of this supply pipeline. I mean, they will be at the very end of this pipeline, so they will rely on everything what is happening in Turkey, Bulgaria, Serbia, and then the gas will come to Hungary. So it means that as soon as Gazprom has technical possibility to send gas not through Ukraine but through other route, they will do it. This is first point. The second point regarding the what to do with Turk Stream 2. Yes, definitely Nord Stream 2 is not on the radar, but we still have a lot of questions to the certification of the Serbian operator. As we know, it was the Energy Community Secretariat made a lot of comments to the certification of the Serbian transmission operator. Also, question to the rules which I applied to the interconnector Turkey, Bulgaria, and Serbia, Hungary, because from our point of view, Serbia, Hungary interconnector should be considered as external pipeline. So there is no difference between Nord Stream 2 and Serbia, Hungary interconnection. So Serbia is not member of EU. So we have a lot of questions and concerns. And, from my point of view, the European Commission should have closer look at what is happening in this area of Europe, because from our point of view, nothing is. There are a lot of concerns to discuss and to investigate. Thank you.
Thank you. I have final other two questions from the audience. So this is and this is really the final round. We are slightly exceeding timing. So I have a question from Martin Russell. I'll skip the one on US sanctions because it were addressed before. The question is probably for Sergey Makogon. Martin Russell asks, given that the Ukrainian transit network is under-maintained, how much of the 146 BCM theoretical capacity can it reliably provide? If you could answer very, very rapidly. Thanks.
Our system is very well maintained, so we invest about $200 million per year into the annual maintenance repair works, and also we invest about 100-200 million as a capital investment. So we invest a lot. Our system is very well maintained, and we are ready to offer all 146 billion cubic meters of transit capacity. So we have not phased out or demolish any of our compressor station or any of our pipeline. Everything is stay ready for operations. Thank you.
Yes, just Sergey Lagodinsky needs to leave us right now. So thank you very much, and we hope to have you again in our debates. Thanks a lot.
Much. Bye bye.
And if I may, we have a final question from the audience, from Dmitro Shkurko, that can join us in the discussion. Don't see him under the. Okay, here you are. So
So you hear me?
Yes, yes, we do.
My question was primarily to Mr. Lagodinsky. It's a pity he just left. But my question is pretty simple. You know, we're trying to simplify somehow the situation because, of course, Russia using Nord Stream as a tool of oppression, but it is a tool of oppression not only to Ukraine, but mainly to Europe. My question is very simple. Is Europe ready right now to come through the so-called crash test of its energy policy? In fact, we have already such a situation. Then back in 2009, there was some European countries freezing because of Russian policies. So that how and what tools we have to avoid such situation in the cold winter of 2021. Thanks.
Thanks. It's, I guess, for whoever wants to reply.
Well, certainly in 2009, there were even casualties because of the gas halt that Gazprom initiated. And today we can say we're approaching a European gas crisis if we're not in one already today because of, once Nord Stream is, has been completed, there's been a decrease in gas transit, there's been a spike in gas prices. The European Union countries have already, I mean, we're only in, the end September, the European countries have already had to draw down on their gas reserves. So we can, I think, definitely expect, this crisis to continue, especially once we're arriving towards the winter season. But what is the European Union willing to do about it? I mean, it seems like its memory's short, right? 2009 has been quickly forgotten. Even it seems 2014, the annexation of Crimea has been quickly forgotten. I think it's a question really of political will in Brussels and really long-term thinking. As we had discussed, the European energy strategy that was adopted by the EU seems to have already been forgotten as the Nord Stream project goes counter to the founding principles of the European energy strategy.
Thanks. Final remark from?
Yes, what I can say that there is significant difference between 2009 and what is happening right now. At that time, it was the problem with the gas itself as a commodity. Right now, situation is a little bit different because now the commodity is, I think, available now, and the countries are very well interconnected. So I think now it will be more the problem of the price of this gas, and all new tools such as the solidarity support and stuff like that would allow to avoid any casualty, any victims in such a crisis. But definitely it will have significant effect on European economy. Maybe it will, it will delay the recovery of European economy, because we already heard that a lot of companies in Europe defaulting and have a problem with their business, like fertilizer producers and the energy companies. So I think it will be a lot of economical consequences for Europe, but not the problem with the gas as commodity itself. I think gas will be available for all countries.
Thank you. I think we reached the end of this discussion. It was indeed very interesting. A lot of insights. Pretty sure the EPC will continue to keep an eye to this energy security issues, and so I thanking Agnia Grigas and Sergey Makogon and Sergey Lagodinsky as well for having joined this this discussion, and also thank the Ukrainian Federation of Employers in the oil and gas industry for having kindly support this timely debate. So thank you very much, and hope to see you soon at EPC event in the future.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.